Thank you. Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Yes, Trustee White,
Present.
Trustee Frazier,
Here.
Trustee Miller,
Here.
Trustee Martin,
Here.
Treasurer Bud,
Here.
Clerk Wright is here, Supervisor is absent today. I guess the first
Right.
thing on the agenda, we need to, I make the motion that we, Sherry Bud, reside over the meeting tonight.
I
guess.
second that.
All in,
I second that.
I said my speaker is not working, but I make the motion that Sherry Bud
Support.
reside over the meeting tonight.
Support.
Have a
Okay.
motion?
We have okay.
Go
Go ahead.
go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, your show.
All right. I guess the executive summary of the agenda, we have the consent agenda, which basically encloses the work study and minutes of all of the meetings that the board has had in the agenda list. And there's also the approval of the resolution for the tax rate and a stormwater maintenance agreement and the POLC contract. We're going to ask that item 17 on the consent agenda so that it can be sent back to the LDFA to review and give their recommendation to the board.
So you're taking 17 off?
Correct.
Okay.
Under new business, I think most of you have an agenda so you can see what those are. So I think we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as
So-
presented.
Support.
I have a motion from Trustee Miller, supported by Clerk Wright, to adoption of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now I would ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I make a motion we adopt the consent agenda with the exception of the removal of item number 17 regarding the LDFA.
Support.
I have a motion from Treasurer Frazier and support by Trustee Miller to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 17, which was an attorney fee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same motion? Yep. Anyway, motion passes. Thank you. We don't have a public hearing. I do not have any correspondence. Does anybody else? Okay.
I got, well, we doing correspondence and announcements?
Yeah,
Okay. I have a quick announcement, if that's okay.
go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to announce that the Township Administrator Office will be closed Monday, September the 4th, in observance of Labor Day. I also like to take a moment to thank my staff and all the election workers for their effort during the August 7th primary election. Everyone did a tremendous job with the new equipment, and I guess we look forward to November, the general election.
Okay, is there any public comment on any unfinished or new business items? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to go on to new business. Item number 1, to consider approval of the agreement between the Township and Midwest Recycling and authorize the supervisor to execute the contract.
Yes, thank you, Treasurer Bud. Today, before you is a action item for the board to consider entering into an agreement with Midwest Recycling Incorporated and allowing the supervisor to authorize the contract. This will allow Midwest Recycling to provide drop-off clothing recyclable containers that will allow people to donate shoes and clothing to where they would then be sent to various charities and other needy organizations for continued work in their charity. With us today is Abe Hatcham, and I'd like to introduce him to describe his business and the contract and answer any of your questions that you may have.
Thank you. Would you go to the podium, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abe Hasham. I am the president of Midwest Recycling. And the program what we do is we place the donation bins of used clothing and shoes in a town, and we pay the city for every pound collected. All the clothing, 85% of the recycling goes to the landfill. So what we try to do is we take as much as we can out of the landfills and we export it overseas. So any of the clothing and the shoes that we collect, it goes overseas and people reuse these clothing. So it's a benefit for the city and it's a zero cost of the city. The city would not have to do nothing. We will take care of everything. Any question? I'm ready to answer any question.
What is the percentage, so that the residents know, who weren't at the work study, what's the percentage that the township will earn for having these bins placed around the township?
So the city will get 6 cents for every pound collected from these donation bins.
Yearly, what does that equate to?
If you multiply I was looking, it's 28,000 pound and the average is 85 pound per resident. So I'll say it's about $10,000 minimum for the city every year.
Thank you, that's
No problem.
excellent additional revenue. We've heard many times that we need, as a township, to bring in new revenue, and this is one way of doing it, so. My only other question is, how many bins do you think you're going to place around the area on average?
Say the max probably 20, 25.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
And so the audience knows how many times they will pick up?
The donation bins, we will be servicing them probably every 5 days. And if we're late, it's going to be 7 days. But we usually do it between 3 to 5, but we say 5. So, but on a weekly basis, we will service these bins.
All right, thank you. I've
No
asked
problem.
enough questions.
Any other questions?
Through the chair. Mr. Hatcham,
Yes.
and in the past, we have had these containers placed around the township, and they created a very bad mess around them. A lot of the items were not put into containers, and a lot of homeless people or other people, interested people, would go into the containers and throw out the contents of the containers, and then they would leave a mess right around it. And a lot of residents, actually, when they dropped off, would just set boxes of stuff beside the containers. Can you give us an idea of how you will prevent this and how it will be beneficial so that we don't have rodents, wet boxes, and other conditions surrounding these containers?
Yes, Mr. White. Well, first of all, the other companies do not take pride of what they do. We take pride by servicing the boxes every week. A lot of the other companies service them every month. Regarding some resident leaving boxes outside the donation bin, this is something uncontrollable. But we are exactly 20 minutes away. There's phone number on every donation bin. If you get a call, we will be there within 2 or 3 hours max. And you will not see what you've seen in previous because we service the boxes every 5 to 7 days. Usually the homeless or the other people, they jump into the box when they see the box is always full, so they go through it. But when they see people come and service these bins and they empty them on a weekly basis, you would not get into this.
But there will be a telephone number on the container.
Yes, sir.
For residents to call.
Yes, sir.
And you're stating that you can reply to those telephone calls within 3 hours to
Max.
the next morning?
Let me put it this way. If they call around 5:10, it has to be next morning.
Understand.
But let's say they call at 12 p.m., within 2 or 3 hours we will be there, yes.
And how many containers did you say you were,
20 to 25 max.
20 to 25?
Yes.
Picked up every 5 days or 7 days?
5 to 7 days.
And there can't be any debris around the can?
No.
Or around the bin?
No, we actually, this is one thing is when we start is I make sure that all the drivers do take pictures of the bin, how they cleaned around it, if there's any derbies, and so we can, make sure that there's no such a thing.
And cancellation policy on this, I read, is 90 days?
Yes, sir.
So any time that we give you notice?
90 days. we
90
cancel
days
the
from
contract.
date of notice?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say Midwest I appreciate the fact that you're operating in such a professional manner. I think the boxes that you're recommending are excellent. They look professional. They have our logo on them. They're painted a color that we choose. They have a phone number, and a real person, is my understanding, answers the phone, which is not a recording, but a real person. So that's a good thing to hear.
Thank you.
And I think it's a win-win for our environment because we're recycling. We're living in a time where everybody buys. We're a materialistic society, and making use of everybody's clothing and shoes to give them to somebody else that are in need is something that is a good idea, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think it's a win-win for the township, and hopefully it'll be a win-win whoever gets the clothing and the shoes.
That's correct.
And, but I appreciate your presentation yesterday and taking the time to answer our questions.
No problem. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us and take and visit our proposal.
Are we ready to make a motion?
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the agreement between the township and Midwest Recycling and authorize the supervisor to execute the contract.
Support.
I have a motion from trustee Miller, seconded by trustee Frazier, to approve the contract between the township and Midwest Recycling and to authorize the supervisor to execute the agreement. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same sign? Motion carries. Thank you. We move on to the first reading of ordinance 8/2118 to rezone parcel V125-83047 99-00007-701, otherwise known as 9275 Haggerty Road, from C1 General Business to OT Office Technology. Director Best.
Thank you. Board of Trustees, today we're here to consider the approval of the first reading of the ordinance to rezone parcel otherwise known as 9275 Haggerty Road from C1, our general commercial, to OT Office Technology. This property, 9275 Haggerty, is located at the northeast corner of Belleville and Tyler Roads. This request is from U.S. Signal, who are here tonight and will be speaking shortly, to rezone the approximately 8-acre site from C1 to OT. The proposed rezoning is consistent with our master plan and has also been approved by the staff reports that you have from our planning consultants, McKenna, in your packet. The applicant has expressed interest and intent to develop the site as a data center. The Planning Commission has recommended to approve the zoning request for the board to consider. There was a public hearing on August 8th of 2018, and no public comment was received. I'd like to introduce Dave Wiz from the applicant to answer any additional questions you may have, and then after his presentation, I'll be also available to answer your questions.
Sure. Trustee Martin.
Good evening. I am Dave Wiz, EVP of Operations with U.S. Signal, and I am here to represent our organization in the request to rezone the property to Office Technological for use as a data center facility in your community. Would you happen to have any questions, or is there anything I could field for you?
Trustee Martin.
Sir, how many square feet is this building again?
The building, day one in construction will be 25,000 square foot with the expectation to scale over time up to 100,000 square foot. The yellow highlighted location on this board, which is just conceptual site plan at this point in time, indicates that first 25,000 square foot. And then the subsequent gray areas would be the consecutive growth modules up to the 100,000 square foot.
All single story?
Yes, sir.
Through the chair. Trusteeship.
So this is on the 8 acres that's right on the corner of Haggerty and Tyler, correct?
Correct.
Right across from the Chase Data Processing Center that's several stories high.
Yes, ma'am, exactly. To the
And
east.
you picked this location because it's with the airport and everything, and with us being centrally located. Was that my understanding?
Yeah, there's quite a number of factors that actually go into building a data center. Some of the core ones of those are network connectivity. US Signal has 15,000 route miles of fiber optic cable in the Midwest, where Grand Rapids originated and solely owned corporation, privately held. The location was first key because we already have fiber optic cable installed in JP Morgan Chase across the street, and it allows us to quickly get access, ingress and egress, a multitude of directions to hit that fiber optic network. The second one is the access to power from DTE Energy, and the access to the high tension lines that run behind JP Morgan Chase, and to get redundant sources of power to fuel the facility and provide the type of power necessary for a 100%, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, constantly on operation, which is required in the IT world.
So you won't be a hacker, right? You won't hack into our bank accounts?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, our job is to protect clients' data, to protect our customer data, and we do a lot of small business all the way up to large enterprise businesses in the Metro Detroit area, as well as Michigan and all the states surrounding us. So we comply with the HIPAA Acts, PCI, the Payment Card Industry Acts, and have a lot of compliances, certifications that we go through yearly to make sure that's all protected.
I was a little disappointed in the fact that this, maybe at some point, 100,000 square feet is going to be holding mostly wires and computers and, that kind of thing. And there's only going to be maybe 1 to 6 people employed. So that just shows what technology is doing to residents' jobs.
Sure.
Technology is taking over, and there's less need for data entry and all that kind of thing now that we used to employ people in. So
Yes, ma'am.
that was disappointing to me, but I welcome you and think that it'll be a good addition for that corner. And I'm sure the Planning Commission will crack their whip and make you do everything just with landscaping and everything to keep your place up looking great.
And we certainly, US Signal, if you don't have previous familiarity with our organization, we do everything in the highest quality. We believe in quality, uptime, and customer service. So that's kind of the pillars of our existence, just to be the best in class out there. So we want to conform, not only conform, but help the township live up to its stellar presence as JP Morgan Chase does across the street and other people on that avenue. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready to make a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we rezone the parcel B12583-047-99-007-701, known as 9275 Haggerty, to office technology standing from C1.
I have a motion by trustee Frazier, seconded by clerk Leanne Wright, to approve the first reading of ordinance 8/2118, and then as recorded in the minute, or in the agenda item. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Moving on to item number,
One more thing I'd just like to say, that since US Signal's at their first reading, they chose to be in Van Buren Township, and they are the kind of business that we are looking for, so it's, the staff is extremely happy that you guys have moved forward with the first reading, and we're very proud to have US Signal as a partner in the township, so it's
Does this
fantastic.
have anything to do with Airtropolis? Or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Welcome to the township, hopefully.
okay, Okay, moving on to item number 3, consider approval of the first reading of ordinance 8/2118, parent 1, changes to the Charter Township of Van Buren zoning ordinance 5/217, parent 2, to add the high-tech data processing and computer center use to the M1 light industrial zoning district.
Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of the first reading of ordinance 808-21-18, parentheses 1, change to Charter Township Van Buren zoning ordinance 5-2-17, parentheses 2, to add high-tech data processing and community center use to M1 light industrial zoning district.
Support.
I have a motion by Clerk Wright, seconded by Trustee Martin to
Miller.
approve.
No? No?
Well, I was
Oh, I'm
looking-
sorry. Go ahead.
To approve the first reading of ordinance 8/2118. Director Bress, your comments.
Yes, thank you, Treasurer. Tonight, we're here to consider the approval of an ordinance that proposes to change the zoning ordinance to add the high-tech data processing and computer centers to the M1 light industrial zoning district. This is what we consider what's called a text amendment. It adds that use to those districts of M1, and by consequence, if it is an M1, it's allowed in M2, also M2. This is intended as a clarification, as we have a current facility that is in our industrial district, and historically, we have allowed these in the industrial districts. They are extremely good fit with industrial areas. They have similar power requirements, low traffic, and it's a great use for properties in these type of areas that already have distribution centers. It's a perfect match. There was a public hearing that was held on 8/8/18. No public comment was received. The Planning Commission has recommended the approval to the board for their consideration of passing the first and second reading of this ordinance. Staff also highly is recommending the approval. Be happy to answer any of your questions you have today.
Any questions from the board?
Through the chair. I'd just like to comment that I appreciate our staff, this request being staff-driven and recommending this kind of change to our ordinance. I think it will be a better situation and put us in a better position to attract this kind of data processing and high-tech business, which could be a win-win for us.
Yes, thank you.
Trustee White?
Director Best, could you show us on the map the M1 zoning areas so that our residents can know and understand exactly where we're talking about?
Sure. Right now, the majority of our M1 districts are located along Haggerty Road.
Okay.
The area that we just approved for those at home is here on the corner of, for the first reading, where U.S. Signal will potentially build a facility. It's at the corner of Haggerty and Tyler on the northeast corner. Also, there are M1 properties along Van Born Road. This is zoned light industrial as well. However, it's in the airport flight path, so there's limited restrictions on what could go there. We also have some light industrial on this portion of the township, as well as along Rawsonville Road.
Are they all marked yellow?
No, they're gray.
Oh, great, okay.
They're gray. Gray, light gray and dark gray.
Any other questions? Any concerns? All right, we have a motion. Do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, down to item number 4, to consider approval of the special use request to operate a drive-through restaurant at 10573 and 10551 Belleville Road. Director Best.
Here we are again. Tonight, I'm very happy to bring to you a consideration for a special use approval to operate a drive-through restaurant on the parcels at 10-573 and 10-551 Belleville Road. We have seen this, a similar request to the board last year for just one of the parcels. Subsequently, the developer, who is here today, Jason Kishmish, who will be available for questions, got an option on the parcel next door, which made this project much more profitable to his bottom line and also favorable to the regulations of the township to allow him to do what he really wanted to do. And it solved a lot of the issues that he was having and we were having with making the project fit on a very small site. The proposal is for a 9,900 square foot retail building with a drive-through restaurant on one of the units on the end on the north side. The drive-through is why the special land use is required. If they didn't have the drive-through option for that northern unit, they wouldn't require, they'd be allowed by right in the district. This site is zoned C1, which allows drive-through as a special land use. There was a public hearing, once again held on August 8th of 2018, and no public comments were received at that meeting. There was a recommendation for approval from the planning consultant, McKenna Associates, per the letter in your packet dated 8/2/18, and a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission for you to consider approval of the special land use. I will be available for questions after, but I'd like to introduce Jason Kishmis, and he can have a short presentation and answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
I make the motion to consider the approval of the petition, resolution 2018-7, to consider approval of special use request to operate a drive-through restaurant at 10573 and 10551 Belleville Road.
Support. I have a motion from Clerk Wright, supported by Trustee Miller, to approve the special use request. And now we'll hear from the applicant.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Jason Kishmish, on behalf of Grand Management and Development. You might remember this project. We came before you, or we came before planning maybe about a year and a half ago. Seems like it was a lot longer than that, but we did get special land use approval at that time. And we always thought that if we could assemble some more property there, it would make for a nicer development. And so we worked diligently with our neighbor next door to secure that property, enlarge the development that now encompasses 2 of those non-conforming homes. So, we're proposing an approximately 10,000 square foot multi-tenant building, very similar to what you saw with the Starbucks site a few parcels down. It's actually almost going to be a replica of that development with an end cap drive-through for one of the units. And we've been working on this for a couple of years now with the community. I think we'll have a really good shot of filling this thing up, especially with some of the work I had done in the previous site. Now that the circulation is a little bit more comfortable, we've got some additional parking in the back. I think we can get some, we get some better quality tenants on that development. So I'm here to answer any questions you have regarding the development. I appreciate your support on it as well.
Any questions? Through the chair. Trustee Miller?
Do you have any of those retail spaces rented out right now?
We've got LOIs on 2 of them. We did execute one for a wireless store, a national brand. We've got an optical store that's looking at it. We have a really nice higher-end restaurant that's also looking at it. It's not, when I know some people, when they think drive-through, this is not a McDonald's or anything like that. This is a small drive-through. It's probably going to be about 1,800 to 2,000 square feet on the end cap. So it's not going to have the type of volume as one of the full-service drive-throughs. Those tenants typically want freestanding sites. This is more the type where you see, if you see a Jimmy John's or something like that, that has an end cap that has a drive-through on it. So I think we've got some good momentum, and I think this project we'll get working on it, but probably still yet this year if we can secure all our permits and approval. So.
Thank you.
Trustee
You know, you said a phone store and a Vision. We already have one of those next to Starbucks, a Vision Place, VSC or whatever it is, and Boost or one of those is already there. We don't want another one there. We don't want to, and there's a Sprint across the street. Now, we want quality. We want a variety.
What would we want?
So I want Chick-fil-A, but, you know,
too.
so ditch it and put a Chick-fil-A there and everything will be fine.
If Chick-fil-A wants to be there, believe me, we'll
Yeah,
find a
you've
way
heard
for it to
that.
work.
Several
You've heard
times.
that. I did have questions yesterday, and I think you did an excellent job of reassuring us about the traffic on Belleville Road.
Correct.
The traffic situation out there is dangerous. I
Correct.
mean, just getting out of McDonald's, sometimes I feel like I'm taking my life into my own hands because, you know,
Correct.
we're getting like Ford Road in Canton, and we don't, you know, I'm sure that our development department is looking at the road situation on Belleville Road. I know that Canton is maybe thinking about a boulevard on Ford Road to cut down on, you know, traffic and accidents and things like that. And Canton did pass their road millage, so they're moving ahead with their plans. But back to your place, we want quality. We saw yesterday a picture of your building. It was excellent. The architect was here with you, and he did a good job. And but he charged you a lot. No,
That's why we got the quality, though.
but it was we welcome you and hope that you'll be successful because you're representing and giving service to our residents, and we want good customer service for our residents, and we want businesses that will appeal to them and that they'll use. And if you do that, you'll make more. Okay?
And that's our intention, you know.
Okay.
We're going to have a beautiful building. There's probably be one of the nicest ones I've ever built, and I've built a lot of them. So we'll look forward to it.
How many do you think you'll employ?
Well, just a rough estimate, usually by rule of thumb, is for every retail unit, you employ about 5 people, and that's not even including if there's more than restaurants there. So this building's slated for 6 units, so I would say at a minimum of 30 people probably would be employed as a part of this development. And speaking to your traffic question, we'd be consolidating a couple of driveways here off Belleville Road into one. We also be granting the community an access easement in case any of the adjacent properties were developed in the future. And who knows, maybe we'd look at developing them in the future. We could tie all that into the access point as well.
I think those driveways being connected is key.
Correct.
I like that CVS, you can go from that complex like Cadoba's into CVS, and then you can get the light at the North Service Drive and Belleville Road, which helps get out there on that intersection. So I like that effort that you've made. So
Thank you.
As a business owner already with 4 or 5 units on Belleville Road and an additional, I think about 5 units, you're going to have 10 units there and comprise a lot of lot frontage on Belleville Road. I wish you all the success in the world, but I would ask you if you would please use your business stature and everything to help benefit the residents of our township, supporting Public Safety Day, supporting all the special days that we have in the township, and all the events that are in here. We'd like for you to be a part of all of that and support our community, since you're going to be taking a few dollars out of it.
I absolutely would love to be a part of any of that stuff. And I think it goes to any developer. At the end of the day, we're here for profit. We're here to make money, but we also want to be proud of what we built. My father, when he built whatever he built, he put his name on it and he stood behind it, and I intend to carry on that legacy. So, absolutely, I want to be proud of that. And I want to be a part of that community.
Good.
Trustee.
Yeah, I did over there everything that everyone else, other trustees said. My only request is that whatever vendor you bring in, make sure they know they're in Van Buren Township.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? No.
Good comment.
Good go.
Okay, I have a motion from Clerk Wright, support by Trustee Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our last item, to consider approval of the petition and resolution 2018-17 for the abandonment of a portion of the Denton Drain as provided in Chapter 7 of Public Act 40 of 1956 as amended.
Or today, I bring to you a request to approve the petition and resolution for abandonment of a portion of the Denton Drain as provided in Chapter 17 of Public Act 40, 1956, the Michigan Drain Code. Project Pancake, which is located, or proposed to be located at the Harold Smith Farm property next to the Denton Village, is developing the property on which the beginning portion of the Denton Drain is found. This section of the Denton Drain is proposed to be abandoned because it will no longer be functioning because as the site is developed, the stormwater system that is installed will collect all the drainage from the site and discharge it at the property edge to the remaining set of the Denton Drain. So the pipe that's in the ground, the enclosed pipe that's in the ground now that isn't currently operational and it's fully operational, will be abandoned, and the new stormwater system will take that place. There's no longer a need for the county to have a drainage easement, so the abandonment will remove the drainage easement and the county's responsibility for that section of property. However, that doesn't mean the property will not pay a drainage assessment for the use of the Denton Drain. They'll still be in the district because their water goes into the Denton Drain. This is required to allow a high-tech automotive facility to develop the site because some of the facilities that they will be constructing are within that easement area. As the easement still exists, the development cannot happen. So this petition and resolution is required by the Michigan Drain Code of 1956, and the abandonment needs to occur in order for the project to move forward. This is one of the last steps in the process for us in Project Pancake, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about this process.
Trustee White.
Director Best, I think that the residents should understand that this is the head of the drain or the beginning of the drain, and the company that's taking over that is going to pave that drain over, and then the water will naturally drain on the pavement into the drain and then into the detention pond. And the detention pond at that point will drain into the Denton Drain.
That's correct.
Pardon?
That's correct.
Yeah, and everything. So I just want them to understand that's what's happening there. I know a couple of times that we've had drain issues and had to have the residents pay a considerable amount of money to have a drain clean that goes through them. But you've made the statement clear that the company that's locating there, since they're still a part of the Denton Drain, will still be paying their share of the Denton Drain water that goes into their detention pond and then into the drain and on out to the lake, actually.
They will pay their what's called a benefit percentage of their benefit of the costs of work on the drain. That's correct. And to elaborate a little bit more from what Trustee White said, the development will not just be pavement. It's actually a lot of green space that's being put under this project. But every drop of water that falls on that site will be collected and go to the stormwater system, where it will be released under the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance and Van Buren Township's Stormwater Ordinance at a controlled rate, which will be actually probably less than what it's discharging into the drain now. And it'll be a benefit to the downstream residents as well.
Now, it is also my understanding that the company that's going to locate there has to maintain that drain, and that's an entire system, and that won't be put upon the residents of the entire township.
The maintenance of the stormwater system as required by Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance the responsibility for maintenance first falls on the township, and then we enter into a stormwater agreement with the developer for them to take responsibility from us. So
100%.
they will be responsible for maintaining their stormwater system, not the remaining portion of the drain.
Right, I understand.
That's
that.
correct.
Okay.
I'm glad that, personally, that Wayne County's out of it and the developer has taken it over and the responsibility, and it doesn't cost us. It will cost us because we'll be filing the abandonment papers at Wayne County, and that'll cost, what, about $1,000 maybe? Less than $1,000. But those papers will be filed after we enter into this agreement. Okay. I think it's a good move.
Ready for a motion?
I'll make the motion to consider approval of the petition and resolution 2018-17 for the abandonment of a portion of the Denton Drain as provided in Chapter 17 of Public Act 40 of 1956 as amended.
Support.
I have a motion from trustee Miller, support by trustee Martin, to approve the petition and resolution 2018-17. Is there any more questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We are now down to reports. We have the May 2018 budgetary report as well as the June 2018 budgetary report, and I will order those received and filed. Is there any public comment on any non-agenda items?
Good evening, board and staff. I've got 3 items. One just came up to my recollection because this is a fluid meeting, so I would like to have a little bit of latitude. You just spoke on a project on an abandoned drain. I want to bring to your attention, clerk, I'm going to end up going over the 3 minutes because this is actually the township business. You just voted on a drain that you abandoned, and I want to make you aware of in 2012, that sitting board abandoned a drain at Grace Lake, which is AKA Vistion. And what was a small world is that one of the attorneys for a signal that left, I was going to land-based up here to let you know that gentleman was part of a group that tried to hoodwink the township for the Vistion Amoresco Hoosier debacle that went on the west side of Grace Lake. Now, to tie this all in, they came and they had the township abandon that drain there. Then they up and left because they couldn't get what they wanted to hoodwink us on, and that drain has never been brought back. So the supervisor's not here, but I would like to let this board know that maybe they want to look into what happened to the drain and the abandonment at the Grace Lake project that was abandoned for the cogen plant that was supposed to be put there in 2012 and was damaged by the tree removal and the tree destruction by the company Amoresco and Hoosier that was going to go in there. The trees plugged up that natural drain that was alongside of the MDOT corridor 275 and has not been repaired, and it does flood and is causing problems. It didn't dawn on me until you just spoke about a drain that you just abandoned. So I want to let you know that sometimes it's not always a done deal, and if the township had to pay $1,000 for an abandoned drain, then you waste. The previous board that was sitting in 2012 wasted $1,000 and didn't get to follow up on an abandoned drain over there. Forgive me for not knowing the name of that drain. Treasurer Bud may know because it's been there forever. I don't think it was called the Grace Lake Drain, but it was some oddball name of somebody that was out there in the past. But I just remember that we abandoned a drain for that project. That project is null and void, and the damage is still done, and the trees were knocked down, to which they didn't even pay a tree removal, tree replacement, which was in the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So just to let you know a little bit of history of what happened out there, and an abandoned drain that got abandoned that should not be abandoned at this point. That said, moving on, that was as a resident. I have another, the Haggerty Road destruction instead of construction. Since we're inviting residents, community to grow and having the signal company come in at that location, that road is deplorable now. They actually started work and abandoned the work for the last 2 weeks, haven't done any more work. They chewed up the half of it and laid 2 ribbons. But now there's bigger potholes there than there were before they started work on it, and it's damaging vehicles. They needed to come out, Wayne County or somebody, and put a temporary fix on the potholes that are actually this deep in 4 or 5 of the major areas into what they chewed up, that the traffic is forced on the chewed up part to go back around to get to Tyler Road if you're going southbound on Haggerty Road between E-course. It's actually a dangerous position now because any motorized vehicles that are 2-wheel motorcycles or anything, they can't travel that corridor now. It has actually been put into a dangerous effect as opposed to what it was before they started to try to repair it. And then they stopped working on it in the last 2 weeks. So I just wanted to let the board know that maybe somebody will put, I understand the supervisor's not here and he's taking care of family things, and hopefully that bug will be put in his ear by the TV or whatever. So that is a major problem, that if the road's not going to be fixed, how are we going to be a premier community and ask these nice big companies to come in and do the work? Now,
John, your time is up.
well, then
so-
I'm going to use my minute and a half.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
And what I'm here for
Wrap it
now
up.
is I want to caution this board that you almost got hoodwinked yesterday and you were almost forced into a position when you were in closed session by an attorney that gave you false information. I represent as the executive, one of the 3 executive directors, board members of the Local Development Finance Authority, to which was in closed session yesterday. The state mandated, and the state created a mandate, Act of 281, 1986, it created the Local Development Finance Authority, to which the township entered into that act in 2004. I'll skip to the chase. What is set up is we have 11-member board, and then there's an executive board that's created out of that 11 members that is voted upon, and that is the chair, the vice chair, and the recording secretary. What had happened yesterday is, in an instance of a closed session, one member of that Local Development Finance Authority, that was the recording secretary, was not allowed in that meeting. That's in a direct violation of what is set up for that act, because the township doesn't provide any notations through the clerk's office or a written secretary. That's primarily the only thing that the recording secretary is supposed to do. Now, if you look over there, there's 3 binders over there, and those are copious notes of everything that's been going on in the LDFA while I have held that position. And you were told, or I'm assuming that you were told, that a third party or a second party didn't need to be into that meeting with you, that you had one representative, which was the vice chair, and the vice chair was supposed to be there. But there was no actual notes that would have been taken and moved on that would have kept in historical purview for the LDFA that moved on. Second of all, you were being asked to do something that didn't go in the proper steps. So that's why it was removed on my request today, number 17 of the agenda, because it did not go in the proper channels, whether the state mandated or not. And so I want to caution you that even though something might sound good and you might be told by an attorney, the reason why we're in this predicament with the LDFA is because the township previous boards listened to the attorneys wholeheartedly and didn't accept their own thoughts. You all need to make an individual thought. If something doesn't sound right, ask. Because I'm pretty sure it was seen that there was an absence of a member in that meeting last night, and that member was supposed to be taking those notes for that reason only, not to share with the public, not to even share with any other persons in the township board. It was for the LDFA, for an archival reason to be brought up maybe in another litigation later on. So that being said, I'm glad that you did what you did tonight, and if you have an authority, not a committee or a commission or some social gathering that has a board, but when you have a public act authority that is mandated by the state, then there's rules that you got to follow. You just don't get to make them up, and the supervisor does not get to make those up. So don't get yourself into that predicament.
John, your time is up.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I respond for you?
No,
I'm talking about to what he said.
no.
You don't want to respond? Okay.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
All right.
Is there any board comment on any non-agenda items? Now you can if you want.
Huh? Okay. Okay. Just a quick response to what you just said, John. Because Treasury Bud wasn't there last night, so she couldn't answer you what you were saying. But she wasn't there. But to defend the rest of the board that were there, no one said anything last night about you not being able to come into the meeting. So we had no clue that you was out there to come into the meeting.
Why wasn't I in the
I said we don't know. That's what I'm saying. We saw you here, but no one in the meeting knew that you was here to be there. Well, I'm just letting you know, no one in the meeting was privy to that. Okay, so you know that. Okay, what you brought forth today was a valid point, and we reacted to it. So thank you.
We did take care of that. Okay, is there anybody else that has a comment?
No.
Okay, I would just like to say that I know it was on the consent agenda. It was the Police Officer Command Collective Bargaining Unit. I would like to thank the bargaining community for the POLC command. They worked with us. Clerk Wright for the work that he did it. I also sat on that. It went very well this time, and I'm pleased to thank everybody that was involved. And we do have a 4-year agreement with our POLC, which is the Command Police Unit. Okay?
Ditto.
And
Thank you.
I'd just like to comment, I'm glad to see that they're going to be equal to the other unit in the police. Because there seemed to be some disparity there. And I think the command should be at least equal or maybe more than the patrol.
Okay, hearing none. I think
I just want to remind everybody that the Bridge Walk and the Taste of Belleville is planned for Thursday at 5:15. And there'll be lots of Van Buren restaurants and residents that'll be attending that. So I would, say that it would be good if we participated. And I know that the cultural units of Van Buren Township are going to be there. The Belleville Area Council for the Arts are going to be giving out memberships and requesting a call for artists. They're going to be holding their art show at the BYC in November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe. And the chorus will be there, and so will the band. So we have a lot of exciting groups that are participating in making our community, giving it the culture and the status that we need.
thank you.
The air show?
Yep.
Yeah.
The air show is going to be held, I think, the 24th and 25th at Will Run Airport. And that's always a great event for everybody. It brings a lot of traffic and a lot of residents and non-residents into the township. So want to enjoy a good day on the Saturday and Sunday, come to the air show.
One comment on the traffic with the air show,
we
particularly
got
on
no-
Belleville
we got no
Road.
comment.
Don't be looking up, look straight ahead. I've seen too many accidents.
Well, it's my understanding that E-Course Road will be closed from Belleville Road to west to,
Right. We already got the notice from
We
the
got the
police
notice.
department.
right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
It'll be there, so.
There's also another announcement to add to that air show. On Friday, I'm pretty sure we've always had the reenactment of the Army guys running up and down
Right,
Belleville
that's
Road.
going to be by the
Don't
museum.
freak out when you think we're being attacked by the Russians, because it's an enactment that goes out with live takes and everything else. That's Friday, goes through the city of Belleville.
Right.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
I have a motion from trustee Miller, supported by trustee Frazier to adjourn, which is not devotable, but all in favor?
7:53.
So we stand adjourned at 7:53. Thank you, good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good job.
Mr. Doyle.
Fabulous.